The night was bitter, the kind that sliced through thin fabric and made even the strongest shiver. Mara sat huddled near the dumpster behind a diner, her worn coat pulled tight around her body. The city never really slept, but in this corner, silence ruled. Only the hum of passing cars and the distant bark of a stray dog kept her company. Her stomach ached with hunger, yet she ignored it. She flicked her old lighter on and off, mesmerized by the tiny orange flame. It gave her warmth for a second, a small illusion of control in a world that had taken everything else. She was about to close her eyes when she heard it, a faint crack, like glass breaking. Then came the smell. Smoke, sharp and bitter. She frowned, scanning the dark street until she saw it, flames licking the edges of a nearby apartment window. At first, she thought it was just a kitchen fire, maybe someone careless with a pan. But then came the sound that froze her blood, a child's scream. Mara shot to her feet, heart pounding. "Someone's in there," she shouted, but the street was empty. No one answered. She ran toward the building. The closer she got, the thicker the smoke became. Windows glowed orange, and heat rolled out in waves. Her eyes watered, but she didn't stop. The front door was locked, so she rammed it with her shoulder until it gave way, wood splintering under her weight. Inside, the air was thick and dark. Flames crawled up the walls, and the floorboards creaked under her boots. She coughed, covering her mouth with her sleeve, calling out, "Hello? Is anyone here?" Then she heard it again, a small, terrified cry from upstairs. Without hesitation, she ran toward the sound, stumbling over debris, her heart pounding in rhythm with the crackle of fire. Every instinct screamed for her to turn back, to get out before it was too late. But she couldn't. Somewhere up there was a child, alone, scared, waiting. And no one else was coming. When she reached the top of the stairs, part of the ceiling crashed down behind her, sparks flying like angry stars. Mara didn't flinch. She just whispered to herself, "Hold on, kid, I'm coming." The smoke thickened as Mara reached the second floor, swallowing every breath she tried to take. The corridor stretched ahead like a tunnel of fire, wallpaper peeling, light fixtures sparking, doors glowing red at the edges. Somewhere behind one of those doors, the child's sobs came again, weaker now, muffled by the roar of flames. Mara's lungs burned. She stumbled forward, squinting through the haze, kicking open door after door. The first room was empty, the second full of smoke so thick she could barely see her own hands. Then, from the third doorway, she heard it, a soft, trembling voice crying, "Mommy." She rushed inside. The small room was half collapsed, the ceiling beam having fallen across a tiny figure curled in the corner. The boy couldn't have been older than 5. His cheeks were streaked with soot, his teddy bear clutched tight against his chest. "Hey, sweetheart," Mara said hoarsely, dropping to her knees beside him. "It's okay. I'm here now." The beam blocking his way out was heavier than it looked. She tried lifting it once, but it barely moved. The fire popped behind her, and the heat grew unbearable. She gritted her teeth, wrapped her burned hands around the wood, and heaved with everything she had. Pain tore through her palms, but she didn't stop. She screamed, muscles straining, until finally, with a groan, the beam rolled aside. The boy coughed, reaching for her. Mara wrapped him in her threadbare coat, pulling him close. "Don't look, honey. Just hold on to me." She pressed his face into her shoulder and staggered to her feet. The exit was blocked by fallen plaster, so she turned toward the window. Where smoke curled through the cracks. She could hear sirens outside now, faint but getting closer. She kicked at the window once, twice, glass shattered outward, letting in a rush of cold air. Leaning out, she shouted, "Help! I've got a child." A firefighter below saw her and pointed. "Hold on, we're coming up." But the floor beneath her feet groaned dangerously. She didn't wait. Cradling the boy, she edged toward the stairs again, half running, half falling. The world blurred, fire, smoke, chaos, until at last she burst through the front door into the freezing night air. People screamed. Someone took the boy from her arms. Mara fell to her knees, coughing, shaking, her skin blistered and raw. Through the ringing in her ears, she heard the boy cry, "She saved me." And then, as sirens wailed louder and voices swirled around her, Mara slumped to the ground, the world fading into black. Cold air hit Mara's face as she collapsed onto the wet pavement. Her lungs seized, each breath scraping her throat like sandpaper. Around her, chaos blurred, firefighters shouting orders, neighbors crying, the sharp hiss of water meeting flame. Someone shouted, "We've got a child. He's alive." The sound gave Mara a flicker of relief. She turned her head, blinking through the haze, just in time to see the boy wrapped in a blanket, a paramedic pressing an oxygen mask gently to his face. Mara tried to smile, but her lips barely moved. Her palms stung, skin raw and blistered. Every part of her body screamed for rest, but she couldn't stop watching the boy. For a moment, their eyes met. He reached out a small, trembling hand toward her. "Lady," he whispered, voice muffled by the mask. "Thank you." That was enough. She wanted to tell him it was all right, that he was safe now, but no words came. Her throat burned too much to speak. A paramedic knelt beside her. "Ma'am, you need to come with us," he said urgently. "You've got smoke inhalation. Let us check you." Mara shook her head weakly. "I'm fine," she rasped, even as her vision swam. "The boy, he's okay. He's going to be," the medic assured her. "Thanks to you." A small smile tugged at her cracked lips. That was all she needed to hear. Before they could say more, she pushed herself to her feet, swaying, and backed away from the flashing lights. The paramedic called after her, but in the confusion, firefighters still pouring water, police pushing the crowd back, she slipped away. She disappeared down the nearest alley, her shadow swallowed by the flickering red and blue lights behind her. Her coat was half burned now, her hands trembling as she pulled the hood over her face. She didn't want questions, didn't want attention. People like her didn't belong under bright lights or news cameras. She just wanted to fade back into the city, into the quiet corners where no one noticed her. By the time the reporters arrived, asking who had saved the child, Mara was already blocks away, limping slightly, the smell of smoke still clinging to her clothes. She found an empty bench under a flickering street lamp and sank down, closing her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt something warm inside, not from fire, not from a lighter spark, but from knowing that, for once, she had mattered. By dawn, the fire was out. Only the skeleton of the building remained, blackened beams and charred walls still steaming under the gray morning light. Reporters crowded the street, their voices a mix of awe and speculation. "A homeless woman saved the child," one said into a microphone. But she vanished before anyone could thank her. Hours later, luxury cars began arriving, their engines humming low against the silence. The crowd parted when a tall man stepped out of a sleek black sedan. His coat was expensive, but his face was pale, eyes wild with fear. "Where's my son?" he demanded. "Where is he, Mr. Harlan?" a firefighter said softly, recognizing him. "Your boy is safe. He's at the hospital now. Mild smoke inhalation, nothing serious." Relief flooded the man's face, and his shoulders sagged as he whispered, "Thank God." Then, quickly, "Who saved him?" The firefighter hesitated. "A woman. No one knows her name. She pulled him out before we got there. Victor Harlan, CEO of Harlan Industries, a man known for power and precision, stood silent for a long moment, staring at the burned building. "Find her," he said quietly. "Please." That night, news channels ran the story, "Mystery Woman Saves CEO's Son from Blaze." They showed the boy smiling weakly from his hospital bed, holding his soot-stained teddy bear. People called her an angel, a ghost, a miracle. But no one could find her. Victor didn't stop searching. He sent assistants to every homeless shelter in the city, asked police for leads, even went himself into alleys and soup kitchens. He showed photos of his son and asked, "Have you seen her?" A woman with short hair, burned hands, maybe wearing a gray coat. Most people shook their heads. Some said, "Lots of women like that around here." Days passed. Then, one cold morning, Victor found himself near a subway entrance. Rain fell steadily, soaking his shoes. There, sitting by a vending machine, was a woman hunched under a blanket, a paper cup in her hands. Her face was tired, streaked with soot, but her eyes, those eyes, he recognized instantly from his son's description. He knelt in front of her. "Mara," he asked softly, though he didn't know her name. She looked up, startled. "You saved my boy," he said. His voice cracked. Please, let me help you now. For a long moment, she just stared at him, unsure if this was real. Then, slowly, she took his outstretched hand. For the first time in years, she felt warmth that wasn't from fire. It was hope.